A warm welcome. You're watching Eye on Africa. I'm Rochelle Ferguson-Biahi. These are the top stories on the continent. Anti-immigrant violence flares in the South African capital. Police fire tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse rival protests between locals and foreigners. President Uhuru Kenyatta declares a national emergency as 2.7 million Kenyans face water shortages owing to a drought. Farm crops have also failed. And in Tunisia, the debate continues over what to do with the 3,000 jihadi fighters returning from Libya, Syria and Iraq. The country's prisons are full and its courts are backlogged with terror cases. But first to South Africa, where anti-immigrant violence continued in the capital Pretoria this Friday, despite appeals from President Jacob Zuma for calm. Well, police fired tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse rival protests between locals and foreigners, both of who were armed with sticks and knives. Well, the unrest comes amid near-record unemployment, with immigrants being accused of taking jobs from locals and committing crimes. France 24's Rebecca Rossman reports.
Police fired tear gas and rubber bullets in Pretoria on Friday during a standoff between anti-immigrant protesters and foreigners who had gathered to denounce recent attacks.
This is not humanitarian. We worked so hard for South Africa to be independent. We are now being treated like dogs.
We don't fight. We are not here to fight. But we are ready to protect our property.
Carrying batons and pipes, many of the anti-immigrant protesters argued foreigners had taken their jobs, while others accused them of being involved in drug dealing and prostitution rings. Unemployment in South Africa is currently above 25%. In a statement, South African President Jacob Zuma condemned the protesters' accusations against foreigners, stating they're law-abiding citizens who contribute to the country's economy. Anti-immigrant riots are not new to South Africa. Similar protests broke out in 2008, killing around 60 people, and again in 2015, killing at least 6.
In other news, donor countries have pledged $672 million in emergency aid to prevent a famine in the Lake Chad region. Well, 14 countries meeting in Oslo this Friday agreed to contribute the money over a period of 3 years. The UN, though, says it's just the tip of the iceberg and that $1.5 billion are actually needed. Well, experts say that Boko Haram militants are stopping farmers planting crops and fishermen from accessing the lake, which is shared by Cameroon, Niger, Nigeria and Chad. Aid agencies say 3 million people must get food by July to prevent a famine. 2.7 million Kenyans are facing water shortages due to a drought which has hit the entire country. President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared a national emergency as farm crops fail and livestock herders are struggling to find food. Our correspondent sent us this report from eastern Kenya, where the last food aid was delivered in December.
Livestock herders walk for 5 hours to reach the only water point in the entire region of Kanango. Every day, the herders and their animals congregate around the watering hole, an oasis that turns into a trap for some of the animals. It can take hours to get them out of the mud around the watering hole.
I spend my time going back and forth between my pasture and this water point, without giving the animals food. That's why this cow is exhausted and stuck here.
The government has created a dedicated agency to direct aid and coordinate drought response, but it's underfunded. The last food deliveries took place in December, and since then, only a few farmers have managed to feed their livestock.
These are some of the animal feeds that we are distributing to livestock keepers in the county. We procured about 700 bags of dairy meal.
It's not enough in this region where livestock and agriculture are the primary sources of income. There's been no rain for a year and nothing can grow here. NGOs are working to fill the gap left by the government's response. The Kenyan Red Cross is testing a cash transfer program to help the most needy avoid starvation.
After the drought, the prices of commodities, basic home commodities, increased. So we came up with the model of cash, unconditional cash transfer, at least to cushion them in the next 4 months.
By then, the rainy season is expected to bring some relief, but scientists warn it may not be enough for the region. Citing climate change, they say that decreased rainfall and cyclical drought are likely to recur.
In Tunisia, a furious debate erupted over what to do with jihadi fighters returning from Libya, Syria and Iraq. Well, according to official figures, at least 3,000 Tunisians have joined the Islamic State and other extremist groups, making the country one of the biggest exporters of jihadists. Meanwhile, Tunisia's jails are full and its courts are backlogged with terror cases. The details with France 24's Laurent Bursticker.
Mohamed Belhaj Amor was only 19 when he left for Syria. There he spent nearly 5 years in prison after being captured by Bashar al-Assad's army. Amor called his mother in January to tell her he had been released, but she says the Tunisian government is refusing to let him come home.
My son is the same person he was before. He wants to come back to Tunisia to earn money and support his family. My son broke down when he heard about his father's death. He's still young. He was manipulated. I want my son back.
Amor's story is common in Tunisia, where an estimated 3,000 to 6,000 people left for war zones in Syria, Libya, and Iraq in recent years. The country is now divided on what to do with these potentially radicalized returnees.
We don't see how these people can come back and still have the same values as us. That sense of belonging to Tunisia.
Tunisia's constitution forbids depriving Tunisians of their citizenship. Officially, anyone who wants to return can do so. Yet in practice, many get trapped in a legal and diplomatic limbo, as it's almost impossible for the government to determine if they pose a threat.
We have no judicial relations with Syria because there are no diplomatic relations. That's the current problem. There are no cases, and there is no way to get proof. In Tunisia, we have to rely solely on the confessions of returnees.
Tunisia's concerns aren't without foundations. In 2015, a Tunisian national trained in a Libyan jihadist camp opened fire on a crowded beach in Sousse. Months earlier, 2 others killed dozens of people in an attack on Tunis's Bardo Museum.
And finally, security will be tight this weekend as the Pan-African Film and Television Festival, known as FESPACO, gets underway in Ouagadougou. Over 10 days, 160 movies will be screened. 20 feature films will be vying for the prize Golden Stallion Award. Well, Burkina Faso security chief says all necessary measures have been taken to ensure the safety of festival goers. 33 people were killed and scores injured in an unprecedented terror attack in Ouagadougou in January of last year. Well, that's all from your Eye on Africa team. Coming up next, more international headlines. Do stay tuned. You're watching France 24.